Hey guys, and welcome to the shop. I'm going to be showing you how to make some zero clearance inserts. I had a kickback and it broke this one in half. Now this was just insert made out of some pine and it's not the strongest, so what I'm going to do today in this video is show you how to make them out of plywood. Now what I've got here is some birch plywood. It's just scrap cuts that I can use for this. Now this is 10 ply. And I would suggest getting this because there's less voids in this. You can, however, use regular plywood, but I do find there is voids in this style of plywood, but that's just my 2 cents. Now another thing, these inserts typically are 1/2 inch thick. Now the material I have here is obviously 3/4, so I'm going to have to run it through the thickness planer to get it down to that 1/2 inch. But if you're doing this and you say you're going out to buy the material to do this, I would suggest getting 1/2 inch material or measuring what the depth is on your table saw at home. I'm also going to make a few extras so I can do custom dados and I can do angled cuts, so I'm not wrecking my zero clearance to do angle cuts or dados like I had to in the past. I'm going to throw this on the thickness planer and then I'll come back to you when we're at thickness and I'll show you what the next step is. So now that we have our material down to the thickness, or if you had the right thickness to begin with, we're ready for the next step. Take the insert from your table saw out and put it onto the piece of wood you will be using. So what we're going to do is I like to put it face down, I like to get it close to the edge. Now what we're going to do here is just roughly trace this. I like to leave about a 1/8 inch from the edge, and then we'll roughly cut this out, and then the next step we'll be taking this to a router using a template bit, and then we'll actually use the original insert to get it to its final profile, I guess you could say. We can take it over to either the bandsaw or in my case a scroll saw, or you can even use a jigsaw. So it doesn't have to be precise here. So if you have some nice square edges, I like to rip this on the table saw just to minimize the cutting on the bandsaw. So that's what I'm doing here. Now you obviously don't have to do that, but quick little tip there. Alright, so once we got all our pieces roughly cut out, we are ready to start tracing them on the router with our template bit. I'll show you what that template bit or pattern bit looks like in a second here. But what we want to do is take that original insert and put double-sided tape down. Now I ran out of double-sided tape, so I'm going to show you a little trick here. If you have this instant bond, it's got the activator and the actual glue itself. So what I like to do is put some masking tape down on both sides, on both surfaces, and one side I'll put the actual glue itself on, and the other side I will spray the activator, and when you press them together, they'll obviously bond. So once we've got all that done, we're ready to put the pattern bit into the router. So now I'm going to be using my benchtop router here, and this is what that bit is going to look like. It's going to have a bearing on the top, and it's going to have the straight fluted blades down the side here. Now there's another kind of pattern bit with the bearing on the bottom. Now you can also use this, but I like to see what I'm actually taking off, so that's why I prefer the pattern bit with the bearing on the top. Now I have a video I put together a few months back showing how to set this up and how to actually make templates, so I'll link that video here. It's a pretty in-depth video on how to do this style if you're kind of unfamiliar with it. So I'll link that video here, but I'm going to go ahead and put this in and start cutting these out. Alright, so once we have everything cut out, we are ready to do the final step. So, if you see here, we're a little low, and I thought of that, because on these templates here, they actually have adjustments that you flip over to level it out. So, what we're going to do is basically mimic that, and what I'm going to use is some very small finishing screws. So what we can do to make sure we line up everything, and then push down on it, and we should get an imprint to where those set screws are, which then they'll land on here. Now, if your table saw is a little different, make sure you accommodate for that. But for me, I am gonna go ahead and do that. Now, I could have taken the thickness of basically what is on this table saw right now, but if this encounters any warping from moisture or whatnot, then you have zero adjustment. But this way, you just back that screw off or tighten it in more and you can level it out. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So there we have it. Basically a finished insert ready to go. So what we're going to do next, after you've adjusted it and it's flush with the tabletop, we're going to bring the blade up into the actual insert itself. So we're going to set that in, put your fence over and lock it in. Make sure, obviously, you're not in the blade. So have a look at where that blade is at. I know I'm far off to the right here, right about here, so I can bring that right about there. So when you lift that blade up into this, it will push against the fence itself and keep it stationary. Just like that. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and maybe learned a thing or two. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And if you're not yet, please subscribe. But yeah, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching, guys.